1776. America declares independence. That same year, a man in Scotland writes a book. The man, Adam Smith. Book, The Wealth of Nations. This book will change the world. It will create capitalism. It will define the free market. It will make economics a science. 250 years later, it's 2025. The global economy is $100 trillion. Millions of transactions every day. Stock exchanges, companies, banks. And it all stems from this book. Steve Jobs read it when he founded Apple. Jeff Bezos read it when he founded Amazon. Elon Musk read it when he founded Tesla. World leaders reference it when making policy. Economists use it when developing theory. Universities teach it. Today I'll explain Adam Smith's book, The Wealth of Nations, to you in 1 hour. But not just a summary. I'll show you. How did this book rule the world? How do the ideas in this book work today? And most importantly, is this book right or is it wrong? Are you ready? 60 minutes. One book. Endless impact. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Who is Adam Smith? The man's story. Adam Smith, 1723, Scotland. Born in a small port town. His father died. He lived with his mother, a weak, sickly child, but intelligent. At 14, he entered the University of Glasgow. At 17, he went to Oxford on a scholarship. He stayed at Oxford for 6 years, but he hated it, because Oxford was worthless back then. The professors didn't teach. The students were lazy. Smith studied on his own. Philosophy, mathematics, literature. He read everything. In 1751, he returned to Glasgow. He became a professor. He taught moral philosophy. And in 1759, he wrote his first book, The Theory of Moral Sentiments. The book is a success. Smith becomes famous. He becomes a private tutor to the child of a wealthy family. They travel around Europe. In Paris, he meets French thinkers, Voltaire, Rousseau. They discuss economics, and Smith notices something. The world is changing. The Industrial Revolution begins in the 1700s. Factories open. Machines are invented. Trade expands. But there is no economic science. No one understands. Where does wealth come from? How do countries become rich? How does the market work? Smith decides, I will write. He works for 10 years. He thinks during the day and writes at night. March 9th, 1776. An inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations is published. Turkish, an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations. In short, The Wealth of Nations. Over 1,000 pages. 5 books. A revolution. The first edition sells out in 6 months. A second edition is printed. It is discussed across Europe. Adam Smith is 53 years old, and he changed the world. He dies in 1790. But his book is immortal. 250 years later, it is still being read. It is still being discussed. It is still influential. So what does this book say? Let's take a look. Chapter 2. The Invisible Hand. The Magic of the Market. Smith's most famous idea, the invisible hand. What does this mean? Let's say you're hungry. You want bread. You go to the baker. You buy bread. You pay money. Now the question, why did the baker sell you bread? A. Does he love you? B. Is he kind-hearted? C. Is he charitable? Smith says, no. The baker sells for his own gain. What we expect from the butcher, the brewer, or the baker is not their charity, but that they look after their own interests. The baker wants to make money. You want bread. You both gain. This is the invisible hand. No one planned it. No one organized it. But the system works. Example, iPhone. Apple makes iPhones. Why? Because they're kind-hearted? No. To make money. You buy an iPhone. Why? Because you love Apple? No. Because you need a phone. Apple wins. You win. The invisible hand. But deeper still, what does it take to make an iPhone? Screen, from Japan. Chip, from Taiwan. Camera, from Germany. Assembly, in China. Design, in America. Thousands of companies, millions of workers, hundreds of countries. No one organizes it, but everyone knows what to do. Why? The price system. Screen is expensive, leads to more companies produce screens, price drops. Chip is cheap, fewer companies produce chips, price rises. The market regulates itself. The invisible hand. Smith says, while everyone is free to pursue his own economic interest, he is led by an invisible hand to promote an end which was no part of his intention. Invisible hand. Smith says, while everyone pursues their own interests, they are guided by an invisible hand and serve a purpose they did not intend. In other words, I just want to make money. But in the end, I am beneficial to society. Examples on screen. Elon Musk makes electric cars. He makes money plus he saves the world. Bezos founds Amazon. He becomes a billionaire plus everyone shops cheaply. Gates founds Microsoft. He becomes rich, plus computers become democratic. The invisible hand. But beware. Smith also warns, people of the same trade seldom meet together, even for amusement, but the conversation ends in a conspiracy against the public, or in some contrivance to raise prices. In other words, if companies become monopolies, they manipulate prices. The invisible hand fails. Example: the 2008 financial crisis. Banks became monopolies. The market collapsed. Smith warned about this 250 years ago. Summary: the market regulates itself, but the state must protect competition. Chapter 3. Division of Labor, the Source of Wealth. Smith's book begins with the needle factory. Why? Because it explains the division of labor. Let's say you are making needles by yourself. You cut the wire, you sharpen the tip, you make the eye, you polish it. How many needles can you make per day? Maybe 1, maybe 20. Max. But now there are 10 workers. Each does one job. Worker 1 cuts the wire. Worker 2 straightens it. Worker 3 sharpens the tip. Worker 4 makes the hole. Worker 5 polishes it. How many needles per day? 48,000. On screen, 1 worker equals 20 needles/10. Workers equals 48,000 needles. Smith says, division of labor is the source of wealth. Why is it so effective? 1. Specialization. Each worker becomes an expert at one job. They do it faster, better. 2. Time savings. No switching between tasks. No time wasted. 3. Inventing machines. When you focus on one task, you invent machines. Example: Henry Ford, 1913. Ford Automobile Factory. Assembly line. Before, 1 car equals 12 hours. After the assembly line, 1 car equals 93 minutes. Division of labor. Smith's theory. Ford implemented it 137 years later. Result? Cars became cheaper. Everyone could afford them. America became wealthy. Modern examples: McDonald's. Cashier taking orders. French fry cook, burger maker, packager. Everyone has a job. Result: a hamburger in 2 minutes. Amazon warehouse. Robot picking from shelves, worker packaging, drone delivering, division of labor. Result: delivery in 1 day. Apple. Designer, California. Chip engineer, Taiwan. Assembler, China. Salesperson, worldwide. Division of labor. Result: 1 billion iPhones sold. But Smith sees a problem. Division of labor. Dumbs down workers. How? If you just screw in screws for 8 hours, 10 years, your brain goes blind. Smith warns, division of labor creates wealth but turns people into robots. The solution? Education. The state must educate workers. What happened 250 years later? Factory workers are depressed. Amazon warehouse workers work like robots. Fast food workers are burned out. Smith was right. Division of labor created wealth, but there is a price. Summary. Division of labor grows the economy, but it diminishes humanity. Balance is needed. Chapter 4. Free trade. Walls must fall. The economic system in the 1700s, mercantilism. What does that mean? Gold is wealth. Exporting is good. Importing is bad. Colonies bring wealth. England, France, Spain are at war. Why? For gold. For colonies. Smith says, wrong. Wealth is not gold. Wealth is production. Import is not bad. Import is good. Dramatic pause. Example, Scotland and England. Scotland can produce wine, but it's difficult because it's cold. England can produce cloth because it has cotton. Mercantilists say, Scotland should produce its own wine. Don't import. Smith says, stupidity. Scotland should produce cloth because it's better. France should produce wine because it's better. The two should trade. Result, both win. This is the theory of comparative advantage. David Ricardo will later develop it. But the idea is Smith's. Modern example, America and China. America. Technology, software, innovation leads to better China. Manufacturing, assembly, labor leads to cheaper. If there is trade, America designs the iPhone, China manufactures the iPhone. They trade. Result, the iPhone is cheap. America wins. China wins. The consumer wins. iPhone price, if America manufactures. $2,000 iPhone price, if China manufactures. $1,000. Free trade equals $1,000 savings. But now the critical question. What about the workers? Factory workers in America are unemployed because the factory moved to China. What does Smith say? There will be pain in the short term, but in the long term, everyone wins. Because workers find new jobs, the economy grows. Is he right? 1980 to 2020. Global trade increased 20-fold. Global poverty fell from 40% to 10%. The middle class grew by 2 billion people. But at the same time, manufacturing jobs in America fell by 30%. Income inequality increased. The Rust Belt collapsed. Trump won in 2016. How? America first. Trade is bad. Brexit passed in 2016. Why? Close the borders. The revolt against Smith began. But was Smith right? The data says, yes. Free trade created wealth. But Smith was wrong about one thing. He underestimated the pain of transition. Workers became unemployed without training. Cities collapsed. Anger grew. Summary. Free trade grows the economy, but we must protect those who lose out. Chapter 5. Should the state not intervene? Laissez-faire. Smith's most misunderstood idea. The state should not intervene at all. People say, Smith is a free market advocate. He is against the state. He is an anarcho-capitalist. Wrong. What does Smith really say? 1. The state has 3 duties. A. Defense. To protect society from the violence and invasion of other independent societies. An army is needed. Police are needed. Security is needed. B. Justice. To protect every member of society from the injustice of other members. Courts are necessary. Laws are necessary. Justice is necessary. C. Public services. To create and maintain certain public works and institutions. Roads, bridges, schools, hospitals. The market doesn't do this. The state must. But Smith also cautions, what should the state not do? 1. It should not create monopolies. Trade or production monopolies are harmful to society. If the state grants a monopoly to a company, prices rise and quality falls. Example, the British East India Company. The state granted the company a monopoly. The company exploited India. It harmed the public. Smith says, the state should protect competition, not create monopolies. 2. It should not control prices. Price ceilings or floors disrupt the market. Example, rent control. The state says rent should be max $500. Result, landlords do not invest. The number of homes decreases. Rent cannot be found. Smith says prices should be left to the market. 3. Should not practice protectionist trade. Tariffs are harmful to consumers. If the government imposes a 50% tariff on imports, imported goods become more expensive. Domestic companies cannot compete. Quality declines. Prices rise. Smith says, free trade should be practiced. So what did the modern world do? America, 1980 to 2020. Reagan. Deregulation. Free market. Result, economy grew by 300%. But inequality increased. The 2008 crisis occurred. Sweden, social democracy. Active state, education, healthcare, social security. But free market, competition exists. Result, high quality of life plus strong economy. China, state capitalism. State controls companies. But competition exists, trade exists. Result, became the world's second largest economy in 40 years. Was Smith right? Completely free market, no state. Collapses, 2008 crisis. Complete state control, communism. Collapses, USSR. Balanced system, Smith's model. Works, Sweden, Germany. Summary, the state is necessary, but limited intervention. Protect competition, prevent monopolies. Chapter 6. Was Smith wrong? Criticisms. 250 years have passed. Do Smith's theories work? Criticism. 1. Inequality. Smith said, the free market creates wealth for everyone. Reality. The richest 1% of the world owns twice as much wealth as the poorest 50%. Jeff Bezos, $200 billion. Amazon warehouse worker, $30,000 per year. 3.5 billion people earn less than $5.50 per day. Karl Marx, 1867, criticized Smith. Capitalism creates wealth, but it exploits the worker. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Was Marx right? Data, 1820 to 2020. Global wealth increased 100-fold. But income inequality is at its highest level in history. Was Smith wrong? No. But he was incomplete. He did not solve inequality. Criticism. 2. The environment. Smith never mentioned the environment. The invisible hand says, companies look out for their own interests, society wins. But companies destroy nature for profit. Examples. Industrial Revolution, air pollution, worker deaths. 1950 to 2000. Global warming, climate crisis. Amazon rainforest, being cut down for profit. In 1776, Smith thought nature was limitless. In 2025, we understand the world is limited. Solution. The state must impose regulations, carbon tax, environmental protection. Smith's model is inadequate here. Criticism 3. Monopoly. Smith said, if there is competition, the market works. Reality, companies are becoming monopolies. Examples. Google, 90% of search engines. Amazon, 50% of e-commerce. Meta, 70% of social media. Smith said, monopolies are bad, the state should prevent them. But by 2025, governments can't prevent it, because companies are too powerful. Criticism 4. Financial capitalism. Smith said, wealth comes from production. In 2025, wealth comes from finance. Wall Street makes billions, but it doesn't produce anything. The 2008 crisis, banks gambled, the economy collapsed, the government bailed them out. Smith's model collapsed here. So, was Smith completely wrong? No. Smith's correct predictions. Division of labor creates wealth leads to correct. Modern factories. Free trade grows the economy. Correct. Globalization. Competition improves quality. Correct. Technological progress. Monopolies are harmful. Correct. Google, Amazon issues. Where Smith fell short. No solution for inequality. No environmental protection. No financial speculation. No technology monopoly. Summary. Smith laid the foundation. But 250 years later it needs updating. Chapter 7. What should we do today? The future. It's 2025. Smith's book is 250 years old. Is it still relevant? Answer. Yes and no. Yes, because the market economy is still the best system. Free trade still creates wealth. Division of labor still increases production. No, because the world has changed. AI, automation, climate crisis. There are problems Smith didn't foresee. 5 lessons for the future. 1. Competition must be protected. Google, Amazon, Meta are becoming monopolies. Solution. The state must strengthen antitrust laws. It must break up monopolies. Smith says, competition is important. It will be even more important in 2025. 2. Inequality must be reduced. The rich-poor gap is widening. Solution. Higher taxes on the wealthy. Equality in education. Social safety net. Smith says, everyone should win. Ensuring this in 2025 is the government's responsibility. 3. The environment must be protected. The climate crisis is real. The world is burning. Solution. Carbon tax. Green energy investment. Environmental responsibility for companies. Smith didn't know about the environment, but his principles say, if society is harmed, the state must intervene. 4. Workers must be protected. Automation is eliminating jobs. AI is coming. Solution. Lifelong education. Universal basic income, UBI. Debate. Strengthening workers' rights. Smith says, division of labor creates wealth but dumbs down workers. Solution. Education. In 2025, the solution is still the same. Education. 5. Finance must be regulated. The 2008 crisis must not repeat itself. Solution. Banks must be strictly regulated. Speculation must be limited. Too big to fail must be ended. Smith says, production is important. Financial speculation is harmful. What did Adam Smith teach us? 1. The free market is powerful. 2. Competition is necessary. 3. Trade creates wealth. 4. Division of labor is efficiency. 5. The state is necessary, but should be limited. But in 2025, we must add 6. Equality is necessary. 7. The environment is important. 8. Technology must be regulated. 9. Workers must be protected. 10. Finance must be controlled. In 1776, Adam Smith wrote a book, 1,000 pages, 5 volumes, 10 years of work. Since that day, The Industrial Revolution happened. Capitalism spread across the world. Globalization began. Billions were lifted out of poverty. Technology exploded. All of this came from Smith's ideas. The invisible hand leads to market economy. Division of labor leads to factories. Free trade leads to globalization. But at the same time, inequality increased. The environment was destroyed. Crises occurred. Smith wasn't perfect, but he was a visionary. 250 years later, his book is still relevant. But it's not enough. Our task? Update Smith. Protect the free market plus ensure equality. Support competition plus protect the environment. Encourage innovation plus protect workers. This is not easy. But it is necessary, because the economy is not just numbers, it's people. Smith knew this. The other name for his book? Moral Sentiments. Economics cannot be immoral. In 2025, we forget this. Money, profit, growth. But Smith says morality comes first. Final word, The Wealth of Nations is 250 years old. It is still the world's most influential book. Read it. Learn. Question. Smith tells you, think. Use your own mind. Don't believe blindly. I explained it in 30 minutes, but it's 1,000 pages deeper. Read it. Because if you want to understand the world, you must understand this book. Adam Smith died in 1790, but his ideas are immortal. One man, one book. Endless impact. Thank you for reading. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Is Adam Smith right or wrong? Write your thoughts in the comments. Let's discuss. Subscribe, because more classic book analyses are coming. See you in the next video. Read, think, change.